Again, Michael here. So in today's Daily Skills Clinic, we're looking at General Training Task 1 again, and we're looking at review or error correction. So we got that process. You're going to, when you start writing your answer for Task 1, you analyze the question, you plan your answer, you write your answer, and at the end you review, you do your error correction. Now, that's absolutely essential. This is why we're so strict with students about not writing letters that are too long. Because if you write a letter that's too long, you've taken away the time that you have for review. If you're not able to review, you're going to leave in mistakes that will bring down your grammar score, will bring down your vocab score, will bring down your coherence and cohesion score. So what we'll often get is students who say, but I can do it in 20 minutes. You know, they can write a 250-word letter in less than 20 minutes. Like, well, that doesn't really matter that you can do it in less than 20 minutes. What we're trying to do is get the highest score possible. So writing as much as you need to write and using the rest of the time to make sure you get the highest possible grammar and vocab score means the highest possible score you can get. So write a letter as long as it needs to be and no longer, and then use the rest of your time for error correction. However, the thing with error correction is you need to know what your most common mistakes are. So when we give you feedback, we will tell you, what types of mistakes are you making? Spelling mistakes? Are you making, are you making article mistakes? Are you making preposition mistakes? What types of mistakes you're making? So it's essential that you know what your mistakes are. You shouldn't be doing review of just, okay, here's my letter, I finished writing it, I'm going to read it again. That will not help you find specific mistakes. Whereas if you say to yourself, okay, my first key mistake, the first key mistake that I make is articles. And you look at every article in your answer and you correct any that you've done incorrectly, any that you've written incorrectly. So that's much more useful than just reading and seeing if you find something. You're like, look at every article. Or if you have problems with verb tense, you look at every verb and you make any of the changes that are necessary. So it's really, really important that you have an idea of what mistakes you typically make and look specifically for those mistakes. If you're just going in there and hoping something jumps out, you're far less likely to find a mistake than if you have a list. For me, these are the two things that I always need to look out for. Now, this is no benefit to you. I'm just using this as an example. So, some reason, both in typing and in writing, when I try to write the word they, I very often forget the letter Y at the end. I'm not sure why it happens, but it does happen, and I know it happens. So what I've got to do is I've got to go back and look specifically for, have I written they as the on any occasion, and correct that. It's a mistake I often make. Another mistake that I make is sometimes I'll write center with this spelling, C-E-N-T-R-E, and sometimes I'll write it with this spelling, C-E-N-T-E-R. Now again, both of them are correct, but I can't use a mixture of both. And this is a mistake I often make. So I'll start writing with R-E, then change to E-R, maybe back to R-E again. So with this particular word, I need to go back and change it. I'll usually change it to the British spelling. But sometimes, just when I'm not focused on it, I'll end up using the American spelling. It's just a mistake that I often make. So for me, these are the two things that I will always have to look out for, in particular, have to look out for when I'm doing proofreading any writing that I've done. But the other thing is, it's not just common mistakes, it's common mistakes that you know how to fix. So let's say you've written an essay and we told you that your biggest mistake is spelling. Now, you need to learn how to spell those words correctly. Now, if it's a spelling mistake that you absent-mindedly spell the word incorrectly and you go back and you know how to fix it, that's fine. But if it's a case like, let's say we've told you that your key mistake, one of your key mistakes is, let's say, subject-verb agreement. Now you know that subject-verb agreement is your main mistake, but do you know how to fix it? Now, if you don't know how to fix it, then there's no point in looking for it. Like, it's your key mistake because somebody else told you. That means you need to go and improve your ability to use to choose the correct subject-verb agreement. So after you've learned how to do it, it's likely that you will still have slips and you will still make mistakes, subconsciously when you're not thinking about it very closely. So having a common mistake that you know about, that you cannot fix, is no use. You have to learn how to fix it first. So if it's subject-verb agreement, you've learned how to do it. Now you can go back, look at all the subject-verb agreements, and fix the ones that you make mistakes in. So really, really important is not just knowing what your mistakes are, but being able to fix them. So those two things together are what's really, really important for reviewing and doing error correction. Okay, so after that spiel, my task for you is a bit different today. I want you to answer these two questions for me. What are the most common mistakes, or what are the common mistakes you make that you know how to fix? So not just the common mistakes that you don't know how to fix, specifically the ones you do know how to fix. So make a list of those. You should already know them. If you don't know them already, what that means is you need to go back to your writing feedback, the feedback that we've given you, and you need to check the progress report that you've been filling out and make sure that you have a concise list of the top 2, 3, 4 of the most mistakes that you commonly make. And again, if you don't know how to fix them, then you need to go and address this. So it might potentially take you 2 or 3 weeks to be able to answer this question. You might know your common mistakes, but you cannot fix them. Then that's not an answer to this question. If you have common mistakes and you know how to fix them, then you have an answer to this. Secondly, I want you to go through the letter you've written for this throughout this month. So I want you to look at that letter again and tell me how many of these mistakes did you fix? By mistakes, I mean common mistakes that you know how to fix. How many of these mistakes did you fix when reviewing your letter? So those two things. What I really, really want to emphasize is completing this task isn't useful unless you have a real answer for number one. And don't worry about, you're not able to answer it within a week, because that's not the important thing. The important thing is, if you've learned from this that you don't know how to fix your common mistakes, that's a very valuable lesson and much more valuable than having an answer for me underneath this video. Okay, so please, by this time next week, give me your answers to these questions, unless you don't have answers, and then use that to go and work out what you need to do so that you can answer these questions. Okay, thank you very much. That's it.